The cameras were not even supposed to be focused on them at that moment. The atmosphere on the set of The Inn felt relaxed, almost quiet, as cast members moved naturally between activities. It was meant to be one of those soft, behind-the-scenes segments where nothing dramatic happened. But when Shen Yue and Wang stepped aside near the wooden balcony, everything changed. They stood unusually close. Not the casual distance people keep during conversations on camera, but close enough that their voices stayed low and private. Shen Yue leaned slightly forward, her expression attentive, while Dylan tilted his head toward her as if trying to hear something only she was meant to say. The sunlight filtered through the wooden beams behind them, creating a warm glow that made the entire moment feel almost cinematic. Crew members passed by, but neither seemed aware of the attention. Their conversation appeared calm, comfortable, and natural. Shen Yue gestured lightly with her hand, describing something. Dylan watched her closely, nodding once, his expression softening into a faint smile. It was subtle, but fans watching later immediately noticed the warmth in his eyes. The distance between them never changed. At one point, Shen Yue laughed quietly, covering her mouth. Dylan leaned in slightly, as if trying to catch every word. The closeness felt effortless, not staged, not exaggerated. It was the kind of interaction that happens when two people are completely comfortable around each other. Another angle showed Dylan briefly lowering his voice even more. He spoke for several seconds, his tone calm and steady. Shen Yue listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. When he finished, she nodded slowly, then responded with a short comment that made him smile again. That smile lasted longer this time. The moment might have passed unnoticed if not for what happened next. As Shen Yue shifted her position, she stepped half a step closer. Their shoulders nearly aligned. The camera captured the space between them, almost non-existent. Fans later replayed this part repeatedly, pointing out how neither moved away. Instead, they maintained closeness, continuing their quiet exchange. Behind them, another cast member called out, but they did not immediately react. The focus between them remained. Shen Yue tilted her head slightly, her expression soft. Dylan responded with a short laugh, the kind that suggested familiarity. It was not loud, not exaggerated, just genuine. The setting added to the scene's charm. The wooden railings, soft natural light, and gentle breeze created a calm environment. It felt like a pause in the busy schedule. The conversation seemed personal, yet comfortable enough to unfold naturally on camera. Later, during a group activity, both returned to their positions as if nothing unusual had happened. Shen Yue joined the others, smiling and participating. Dylan stood nearby, listening to instructions. But fans noticed something subtle. When Shen Yue spoke during the group discussion, Dylan briefly glanced in her direction, then looked forward again. The earlier closeness lingered in viewers' minds. Another moment occurred during a short break. Shen Yue walked toward the table to pick up a cup. Dylan approached from the opposite side. For a second, they stood close again, exchanging a few quiet words. Shen Yue nodded, her expression calm. Dylan leaned slightly forward, speaking softly. The interaction lasted only seconds, yet mirrored the earlier conversation. Observers praised the natural chemistry. There was no exaggerated reaction, no dramatic gestures, just comfortable closeness. The ease between them became the highlight of the episode. One of the most talked about scenes came later in the afternoon. The group gathered outdoors for a casual discussion. Shen Yue sat near the edge of the bench. Dylan stood behind her, leaning slightly on the railing. When she turned to speak to someone else, Dylan shifted closer to hear the conversation. Their proximity again caught attention. The subtle pattern repeated. They often found themselves near each other, speaking quietly, sharing brief smiles. None of the interactions were dramatic, yet together they formed a narrative of comfort and familiarity. As the sun began to set, the lighting grew warmer. During the final segment, the cast reflected on the day. Shen Yue spoke about enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. Dylan listened, his posture relaxed. When she finished, he nodded slightly, as if agreeing. The camera briefly captured them in the same frame, standing close once more. Fans later described the entire sequence as unexpectedly intimate. Not because of grand gestures, but because of the quiet closeness that appeared repeatedly. The conversations felt genuine, unforced, and natural. What made the moment memorable was its simplicity. Two people talking quietly, standing closer than expected, sharing soft smiles. The calm atmosphere allowed every small detail to stand out. Even after the episode ended, viewers continued discussing the balcony conversation. The closeness, the quiet tone, and the relaxed expressions became the focus. It was not a dramatic scene, yet it left a lasting impression. Sometimes, the most captivating moments are the quiet ones. A shared laugh, a soft conversation, and the space between two people growing smaller. On that day at the inn, those small details created a scene that fans would remember long after the cameras stopped rolling. As the evening activities began, the atmosphere at the inn became even more relaxed. The cast gathered around a wooden table, preparing for a casual dinner segment. Laughter filled the air as everyone settled into their seats. Shen Yue sat near the middle, while Wang initially stood behind, listening to the conversation. Within moments, he pulled a chair slightly closer to her position, creating yet another instance where their proximity drew attention. The conversation flowed naturally. Shen Yue spoke about the day's activities, her tone light and relaxed. Dylan leaned forward slightly, resting his arm on the table, clearly engaged. At one point, she turned toward him directly, saying something that caused him to smile softly. The exchange lasted only seconds, but the direct eye contact made it feel more personal. Later, as food was passed around, Shen Yue reached for a dish placed between them. Dylan instinctively moved it closer, a small gesture that appeared thoughtful and unforced. She nodded in appreciation, and he responded with a brief grin. The interaction was subtle, yet viewers quickly noticed how comfortable they appeared around each other. Another memorable scene unfolded when the group began sharing lighthearted stories. Shen Yue laughed at one of the jokes, leaning slightly toward Dylan as she reacted. He responded with a quiet comment, and both shared a brief moment of laughter. The closeness remained natural, not exaggerated, reinforcing the sense of ease between them. As the night progressed, the cast moved outdoors to enjoy the cooler air. Soft lighting illuminated the courtyard, creating a calm and intimate setting. Shen Yue stood near the railing, looking out at the view. Dylan joined her moments later, standing close enough that their conversation remained private. They spoke quietly, occasionally smiling, as the rest of the group chatted nearby. One particularly striking moment came when Shen Yue tilted her head slightly while listening. Dylan leaned in just enough to respond, his tone appearing gentle. The scene felt calm and unhurried, as though time had slowed around them. Fans later described this as one of the most natural interactions of the entire episode. When another cast member called everyone back inside, both stepped away almost simultaneously. They walked side by side for a few seconds before blending back into the group. Even in motion, their closeness remained noticeable, further emphasizing the comfort between them. During the final wrap-up of the night, the cast gathered for reflections. Shen Yue spoke about enjoying the peaceful environment and meaningful conversations. Dylan listened quietly, occasionally nodding. When she finished, he added a short comment that made her smile again. The camera captured their expressions, highlighting the relaxed warmth that had defined their interactions throughout the day. By the time the segment ended, viewers had witnessed multiple quiet exchanges, each reinforcing the sense of familiarity. There were no dramatic declarations, no exaggerated gestures. Instead, it was the consistent closeness, the soft smiles, and the natural conversations that made the moment stand out. Even after the episode concluded, fans continued replaying the scenes. The balcony conversation, the dinner interaction, and the nighttime discussion all formed a sequence of subtle, yet memorable moments. Together, they created an impression of two people completely at ease, sharing space and conversation in a way that felt genuine and unforced.